welcome to another episode of Brainstorm Black. I'm your host, Charlotte Moore. I have a question for you. Have you ever been about to go somewhere, I don't know, shopping or dinner, but you're by yourself and you think, I'm gonna see if a friend will join me? You've probably done that. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm gonna see if a whole bunch of people will join me, like a whole bunch of strangers? If you've not done that, you're not doing it right. Take a look at this.
Okay, here we go. I said that I should use my own app, or I'm setting up this app, right? So that we can get together, we can find each other and hang out, right? But if I don't use the app, if I'm not actually doing it, then how are you supposed to do it? So here we are. I'm gonna get in my car. I'm driving to Blue Elephant. I'll post where Blue Elephant is. And if you wanna meet me, that would be so great. I'm looking for some really cool clothes because my husband is going to take me to Paul Simon on Monday. So, and Blue Elephant usually has some really cool stuff that I'm looking for. Like these shorts that I'm wearing right now. Oh, can you see them? Does it matter? Not really. It doesn't matter at all. But the point is that I would love to see you there. And, let's hang out. Maybe get a drink. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I love people like that. People who are bold, people who just go for it, people who are curious. My guest today is one of those kinds of people. She's curious. She loves meeting other people, but not just meeting other people. She has a target and she has a reason. Welcome to the show, Shannon Stott.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
You are one bold woman. You just locked your door and you said, I'm going to this place and I want you to join me.
Right. So what was fun, you used a word, curious.
Yes.
I think that was the word. And there's a question out there that I'm trying to answer. And the question is, why am I the only Black person anywhere I ever go? Now, that is a huge overstatement, right? So usually it's not just me, it's one other person or maybe two. Or maybe there's nobody that's actually there that looks like me, but on the way there's one. And you do the
Yes.
the nod, nod, Charlotte.
I know that. I know that. And you notice, if
Yes.
you see a Black person, you're like, ooh,
right.
There's a Black person.
They're one. And so the question that I Am Here ATX was trying to answer when I first started this idea was, how do I, in real time, get Black women to join me in whatever it is that I'm doing? So, like you said, going to the movies or going to a restaurant, especially on those days where you're just, I want to go out into the world. It's a beautiful day in Austin. I just want to walk around Lady Bird, but I just want some people. I know I'm going to be the only person that looks like me there. How do I get people around? So I Am Here ATX started as this idea that Black women could legitimately take a picture of themselves and say, hey, I'm gonna go here. You, other Black women, come with me. Meet me here in real time. But as that project has gone forward and taking different shapes, one realizes that we're all adults, and usually when I go out, I'm going out because I want to be where I want to be by myself,
right.
Or I know who I'm going to go out with,
right.
Or
it's planned.
Right, it's absolutely planned. So there's less of that spontaneous vibe,
yes.
Right, that is available for people to come out. So it's taken different shapes and forms.
So, okay, so you mentioned it. It's hashtag I Am Here ATX.
Right.
So this is a campaign that you just woke up one day and said, I'm going to start this.
I'm going to start this. Well, it's so you and I are talking every once in a while, and the more I talk to everybody, right? I've been having these conversations in different little spaces with all Black people, and they're all saying the same thing, and that same thing is usually, you don't have to do this by yourself. Whatever it is or whatever this is, you don't have to do it by yourself. There are people out here to help. So, friends of mine helped build this sort of idea, this iteration of I Am Here ATX, right? So for me, it's a page. And Charlotte, it's so inspiring to see you do what you do because I have no social media savviness, right? Like I just don't, and so I'm just out here like, is this right? And then you look at people who take pictures of themselves, and it looks completely photoshopped and beautiful, and they're like sending out these things like on the minute. It feels like,
Yes.
and I don't know.
Well, first, thank you for saying that. I'm embarrassed because I think I do post way too much.
No.
Some of it is photoshopped.
Well,
but it's because I'm like you. I like people. I like. It's really not vanity because
Right.
I'm gonna get real here. I grew up thinking I was ugly. You know, that dark-skinned, black woman, I've always been really, 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 really insecure about my looks.
Right.
I've reached a point where I'm like, you know what? This is the body that the universe gave me, and if I don't love it, who's gonna love it?
Absolutely.
And so I post those pictures.
Good.
But listen, before we go any further, I wanna know who you are. Shannon Stott. Let me say this too. We met, when I talk about someone being bold and just reaching out, I was at home one day and got an email out of the blue from you.
Right.
And it was just like, I read one of your articles in Culture Map, and it said blah, 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 blah. I mean, you were really writing.
Right.
And it just was going and going, and you said, my name is Shannon Stott, and I do improv, and here's an article. You shared an article with me that you'd been, wonderful article, written
Right.
up, I think it was the Chronicle.
Yes.
And she said, we need to meet. And I said, we need to meet.
Yes.
Because anyone who does that, I'm going to go meet that person.
Right.
And we met at that place, Thai Fresh.
Thai Fresh, yeah.
And we sat there and talked. And I remember thinking, what a beautiful woman. She extended herself to me, and we met.
Right.
And so here we are.
Yes.
So tell us about you. Who are you?
Oh my. Okay. Let's see. What it's like. Hey, how do we have this conversation? So, who am I? My name is Shannon Dale Stott Davis. I'm married. When I do things like this, I like to go by Stott because when it is my artistic side, I feel like that really reaches back to my roots and my family. My father was in the theater. He loved poetry. He recited poetry verbatim, like from his mind at my wedding. Like he is so lovely. My mother is an event planner, basically, like her events, and her mother before her, and that side of the family is just full of art. And so I like, when I do my art, I like to go by Stott. And then when I do my 9 to 5, I go by Davis and pay my taxes. I go by Davis. So that's a little bit about me. I've been in Austin 7 years. So I thought I had only been here 5, but apparently my husband recently said, he was like, no, you've lost 2 years, been here 7 whole years.
It goes by fast.
It goes by really fast. And before that, I was in Richmond, Virginia. And before that, I traveled. So my parents were, they're retired, so they were foreign service.
Okay.
So we traveled a lot. And traveling, I think So traveling, so we lived in Europe, but the most impactful place that I lived was Nairobi, Kenya. And I graduated high school in Nairobi.
Wow.
And we also lived in DC and we lived in Atlanta. And I say those places because they always ring bells for Black people,
yes.
right? So
Yeah.
it makes us feel like, oh, right, if I could only get to LA, if I could only get to Atlanta, right? It's like the Mecca, it feels like at this point. But the thing about living in those places is you are not surprised to see Black people doing fill in the blank, right? Black people walking down the street, owning businesses, being doctors, lawyers, whatever, being just in any space, servers, whatever it is.
They're a part of the fabric.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's not surprising. When I was in Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the Confederacy, there were still Black people doing their thing almost everywhere. Like, you can check me on that, Richmond. Like you can check me, right? And then when I moved to Austin, Austin touts this, I don't want to call it a myth. It's not a myth, but this story, this narrative, right? That Austin is inclusive, that it is diverse, that there are there's a mentality that Black people, people of color in general, are everywhere and we're together and we're out and we're doing the thing. But that is not the visual reality that I'm seeing.
Right.
And so as I have weaved through 7 years of Austin, my first, I guess, 5 years of being here was just keeping my head down. I have to get a job. I have to take care of my stepson and my husband, and I have to figure out life here in this new place. And then as I sort of grew out of that, as I woke up, from that, I'm in this place now where it's like, okay, well, now I need to find my community. Where is my community? And my base community is the arts. Right? My base community is improv and the theater. That's where I root down.
Right.
And then, but as I start to spread and root out, branch out, even in that base community, I'm not seeing myself reflected on stage. I'm not seeing myself reflected in classes when I teach classes. I'm not seeing myself there. And then that goes out into the greater community of Austin in general, where not only am I not seeing myself, but when I do see someone who looks like me, we both are surprised to see each other. Why?
Right. So when you say, because you're not the first, I've said it, when we say I don't see myself, can you say a little bit more about that? What does that mean? I've thought about this a lot too. What do you mean when you say I don't see myself?
Great. I wish there was something you said like 10 or 15 sentences ago, and I
was going to say, sometimes my sentences go too long.
No, they're great sentences. They're
Thank
great.
you.
I have to write them down though. So you're asking what it means to see yourself for me. So Austin is, people say Austin is weird, keep Austin weird.
Right.
Austin is full of weird stuff.
Yes.
Right? Weird stuff.
Yes.
There's always at least one person of color in whatever weird thing that you're doing, right? That's out there, right? We do all the things. Not seeing myself really means I don't feel, as I'm doing my own weird thing, whatever it is, that there is community being represented in that weird thing. But I know you're out there. Like, I know. I don't know why you're not here right this second, but I know you're out there because 2 days ago, I'm looking at an Instagram post and there you were, whoever you are, like there you were. I was there.
Right.
Where were you? So as I am in the things that I do, and some of my stuff isn't weird, like I'm just going to restaurants, I'm going to like walking down Congress, these types of things. I would like to start to see Black women, people of color in general, people from all different types of communities that are not white men. Right. Or white women.
I can relate to what you mean. And of course, I don't see myself literally, we don't, because just sheer numbers.
Right.
But I wonder what it must be like to be a white man or a white woman in Austin. I totally get what you're saying about, because I do some weird things too. So whatever weird thing I may be doing at that moment, it would be nice to not always have to be conscious of the fact that I'm the only Black weird one doing it.
Right.
Where that doesn't even come to my mind because I see myself, I feel myself. Other people like me are there doing this too.
Right.
It sounds even simpler than what I'm trying to relate, but...
So you were talking about, we're not the first, right? We're not the first people to be asking this question, to be moving forward, to be trying to get us out, right? And what's interesting is I've found that as financially, we are around, right? So there are many Black-owned businesses in Austin. There are some restaurants and clothiers, and we've got just makeup, and we're here in the business sense. So this idea, this I Am Here ATX, as it's been building or rather, as it's been going through its changes, whatever changes it's going through, what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out how do we start coming out in number socially, so that when other people are moving here, when they land, like when they land and they walk out into Austin Airport, and then they drive down whatever street it is, they see us doing the thing, not only owning the business, but in the business. And then not only being in the business that Black people own, but being in every business.
Right.
How give me the answer, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, like that's why I'm here. I brought my notebook and I brought my pen.
Yes.
Like,
I wish I could. I wish I could. I think that just by the sheer number, the sheer lack of us makes that difficult, was one thing. Even though we're there, which is another thing I argue, I don't want to hear any more about how can we get more Black people here until we start to really focus on the Black people who are already here. Let's focus on them and get them feeling like they're a part of the fabric that you're talking about, and then others will come.
Right.
But Austin is not D.C. Austin is not Atlanta.
Right.
I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years. It was culture shock.
Right.
It was, I'm embarrassed to say that most times, but it was a culture shock. I had to move back home. It's not why I moved back home, but Black people everywhere. And it would be nice, again, if Austin wants to promote itself as that city, to be that city, or at least try to, appeal to the people who are already here.
So I was talking to a friend of mine who brought up a very interesting, just historical point, and he was talking about, you have to really think about the fact that we are here, yes, but when it comes to Atlanta, when it comes to DC, those places are ports of slavery. Right? It's ports of slavery, and they also had things that slaves needed to cultivate. So whether that be cotton or whether that be tobacco or whatever it was. Austin wasn't a hub for any of those things. So as far as us getting here, it took time, and that's why we're new, right? But what you're saying still stands true, which is we are here.
Right.
We do talk a lot, and I say we as Austin in general, right? Just Austin in general. We do talk a lot about, this idea of people moving out, Black people moving out, right? That seems to have stayed a little bit. That seems to have stopped, just halted a little. And so we are here. So how do we, and this is, this is why I'm here, this I am here ATX sort of idea. How do we get out, right? And then the other part of that is, how do we show Austin that we are economically valuable? So I was talking with my husband, and we were talking about the places that we like to go, right? So we're super bougie, I'll let you know right now. So, we're like all the bougie, it's fine. But when Perla's, I wanted to go to Perla's. I took him to Perla's for oysters, right? And we were like, this is our anniversary. We're going to go super bougie. We're going to do the Perla's thing and sit outside. We're going to get oysters. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So we went, and we've traveled. Like, we know what oysters are. Perla's is like the place, right?
Yes.
Those oysters came out and they weren't that great. Sorry, Perla's, whatever. You heard it here first. And we got all of them. Like, we talked to the waitress. Okay, like, what is the best thing that we need to be ordering? Well, we got salt water, blah, and this is from Baltimore, blah, blah, and these are from the coast of whatever. And we order them, and we're like, it's not that great.
Yes.
Why does that matter? A couple of reasons. One, when we walked in, we're the only people. That's fine. That's fine. We're the only ones. That's fine. But nobody cares. As in, the bartender didn't care. Now, was that because of us? Or was that just because the bartender doesn't care about anybody? I don't know. But the ambiance doesn't reflect anything about me. The thought, the music doesn't reflect anything about me.
I see what you mean.
So, and then to go further past that, if which we didn't, if we were to say, okay, we're going to use Yelp or whatever the cool, trendy app is,
right.
and tell Perlas, look, we didn't really enjoy our stay there. I mean, it was sort of whatever. Perlas is already making money. They don't care about me.
Right.
Now, they probably also don't care about one person or two people saying anything like that. But if, and not that we need to like all visit Perlas, I get it. I get it.
That
Right?
would be something. If you do, let me know.
Let you know. But you know where I'm going.
I know where you're
right?
going.
So if
Yeah.
if one black person saying, hey, I didn't feel included, I didn't feel like the food was that great, I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
No, nobody's gonna care.
Right.
But if we're buying money, if we're buying Perlas, if we're spending our money there, if we're showing Austin in not only our community, thank you Hoovers, thank you those establishments that are doing it, not only spending our money there, but spending our money everywhere and being economically seen and valued and heard, that our dollars count just as much as anybody else's dollars,
Right.
then maybe we can be seen. Then maybe it feels like the actual not consumer, but the product, the business will say to themselves, "Oh,
They matter.
they matter."
Yes, I got you now.
Right?
I see
they
what
matter.
you're saying.
Let's
Yeah.
change our music. Let's not even change, but just be aware that someone could come in that cares, and we
Right.
want them to come back.
And
So what
this
does it look like?
Would have an impact on every race and type and
Gender.
a person.
Right.
Right. That's it. Like getting people to see the world through eyes that aren't their own. And when you have a city that's as white as Austin is, and by white, we're talking about a culture.
Yes.
Not necessarily, because then if you start listing off
Right.
numbers, we're talking about a culture of whiteness. Then yes, that makes so much sense. Like that's so limiting.
Yes.
When you have all this rich diversity that you do have, pay attention to that and build on that.
Right.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. And so it takes that movement, that
Yeah.
that feeling that I'm getting towards is, and I want to talk to you a little bit about self-care, right?
Yes, we're going to talk about that. So I want to, before we, so hashtag iamhereATX. And it's simple. So,
Right.
so very quickly, just how does it work? If I'm getting up to go to the theater.
Lord, listen, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works.
Let's do it right now. Let's come up with a way. The way
So-
you did it is
right.
to say it, but you did video, but you could do a picture.
Right. So here's the thing. If you hashtag I am here ATX. So
Yes.
you had said, maybe if I let me just keep talking. Yes, the idea is to take a picture of yourself. That's it. That's what you said. You said something about scrolling through, or maybe I was thinking about it. But the idea in my mind is that when you are sitting there at night, right? You're sitting there and you're just scrolling through pictures. You're just
Yes.
scrolling through, and you don't know what you're looking at. You're looking at hair products.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice to click on I am here ATX and scroll through all the Black people that have done who knows what today? And just to feel like, oh, I was on, whatever street. I was on Lavaca. I didn't see any of those like lovely people, right? That's what you said. You said that you felt ugly.
Oh, yes.
That you felt that there wasn't anybody, that you didn't have a community. There are so many people here
Yeah.
that feel that way.
I'm sure.
And that haven't made the jump yet to loving themselves.
And this hashtag it sounds like it would connect us. And again, I want to say this too. Well, I'm going to ask you, are we trying to seclude ourselves or exclude others?
That's lovely. That's a great question.
Yeah. Because I don't know if that's,
No.
yes.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
It's not. The thing is, what we're trying to do is tell other people, quite literally, I am here.
I am here.
I am here.
I love that. Yes.
That's it.
Yes. Okay. Hashtag I am here. Before we talk about self-care, we're going to wrap up talking about that because
Okay.
we were talking in the restroom
Right.
before this about hashtag I am here ATX. But then we segued into self-care. But before we do that, I want to check in with Chuka. We always have to check in with
Okay.
Chuka and see what he's thinking about this whole idea. Chuka?
So for me, I definitely identify with the notion of, or with the experience of being out somewhere and not seeing yourself. I've been to these establishments, which have been referred to in this conversation. Having moved here being from DC, moving here from New York, it's obviously a quite different experience. This is a very white city culturally, like we specified. And yes, it makes sense creating some sort of tool to connect people so that, you recognize that, like you said, I'm not the only one here in a way that's, not exclusionary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It was right in that last 2 or 3 minutes, it really resonated with me. And just the term, I am here. I think that's what we're trying to communicate.
Right.
Love it. Let's talk about self-care as we wrap up. I think we were talking about just being in these bodies.
Right.
And navigating systems.
Right.
And our city.
Right. So the reason I brought up, I was like, we're talking about self-care, was this feeling of, wouldn't it be nice, right, to scroll through whatever right before bed and just see like droves of people, like, oh, that person looks like me. Oh, wow, they have nice clothes. Oh, they live in a house in a neighborhood I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Oh, look at what they're doing. They're surfing, they're paddleboarding, they're whatever. And to know pause, to see that, and to realize that you are not the only person fighting the fight, right?
Yeah.
Just the idea that someone else, that even if it's because they are a woman and they can relate on that note, or they are short and they can relate on that note, right? Even just seeing somebody who resembles you in some way helps you to feel empowered to just keep trucking, right? And then into the self-care part, this idea that we're out here by ourselves. There is this feeling that we're out here alone.
Totally. It's and whatever it is driving us to do these things that we feel called to do. Yes.
And so I don't want other people to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way anymore. And part of that self-care, taking care of yourself, is knowing that you don't, and really focusing on the mantra that you don't have to do what you're doing by yourself. Whatever it is you're doing, whatever fight you're fighting, because it could be the fight of there are no tampons in the bathroom, right?
Yes. Yeah.
like that is a fight.
Yes.
It is a fight, but you don't have to sit there in the bathroom crying because there's no tampons. Like, just say out loud, like, help, like, you don't have to cry by yourself.
Right.
You don't have to cry by yourself.
That's right. That's and this whole thing is what I know, because when we met, this is what happened and we talked. This is sort of a representation of what I Am Here ATX can do.
Right.
Getting women together, talking about all those little things, having a drink, and letting it out, and knowing, like you just said, you are not alone in the city.
Right.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you, Charlotte.
And I thank you for coming up with this idea. And I want us to get online, and when we go places, I want us to use that hashtag, I am here ATX, because we are here. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I love this. This is great. You're not alone.
No, I'm not.
We're supporting you.
You know what? And that means a lot, because a lot of times I do feel alone. And I know I'm not. And you're not either.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. All right. And we will see you on the next episode of Brainstorm Black. Thank you.